Hello everyone, this is Riccardo and I will be doing my presentation on the Shanghai boat transport market. So first off, I will be introducing what the Shanghai Ferry is. And the ferry here in Shanghai, it allows for transport across the river. As for the city is divided in two parts by the Huangpu River. So the two parts of the city are known by Pudong and Puxi, depending on which side of the city it is. And it also allows transport to Chongming, Changxing, and Hangsha. These are three islands in the Shanghai province, but I will not be focusing on these three islands because they're away from the actual main city. Right, so the ferry is the oldest of the four river crossing systems, which now also include tunnels, bridges, and subway, and it is arguably the cheapest transport system. It is cheaper than the tunnel and bridge transport because those transports need to be done by car or by another vehicle, which takes more time than the ferry, and also arguably costs more because of the gasoline. It is also cheaper than the subway because although the subway can also cost two RMB, like the passenger fare for the ferry, it costs one extra RMB for each set of kilometers spent on the subway, and it maximizes at nine. So arguably the subway could be cheaper, but in many cases the ferry is more convenient. So, what are the characteristics that define this market segment? It is the ferry is used by a large amount of people due to its convenience, especially during working hours, where a lot of moped and bike users can also be seen. As for mopeds and bikes are not allowed on the tunnels and bridges. Actual motorbikes are allowed, but motorbikes are really uncommon in Shanghai because due to pollution control, getting one is very costly, while mopeds are very commonly spread because they run on an electric battery. It is also common amongst Westerners because of sightseeing, and while there is a 12 RMB tour, many just choose to take a normal subway, a normal ferry ride because the scenery can be seen anyways. Alright, it is also state owned by the Shanghai Ferry Company. It used to be private owned until 1949 when the Communist Party took it and nationalized it. But due to it being state owned, it also means that there is no competition and there is only one ferry system in Shanghai. So since it's state owned and there's no other ferry system, the comparison I'll be doing is between the two different types of ferries, and they're the air conditioned ones and the non air conditioned ones. As can be easily noted, the prices in the air conditioned ferries are always higher than the non air conditioned ferries. But it also needs to be noticed that the air conditioned ferries are usually available in the more urban areas of the city, while the non-air conditioned ferries are in the more rural areas of the city. For instance, in Lujia, which is the new district uh, where all the typical buildings of Shanghai are located, the you can only find air-conditioned ferries. Also, because the living costs of living in Lujia are higher, while non-air-conditioned ferries you may find in more outside the actual urbanized area of the city and more on the outskirts of it. The only uh, the only fare increase that is the same between the air conditioned ferry and the non air conditioned ferry is the extra luggage one, which is one RMB, one extra RMB for both. And by light motorcycles, it refers to the mopeds, which I previously talked about, and by cycle rickshaws, it includes bigger mopeds uh, and also motorbikes. So, what are the differences and the promotional campaign? Because it needs to be noticed that since it is state owned, there is no promotional campaign. However, there is a campaign to encourage the use of air conditioned ferries. This is not just because they cost more, and since it's state owned, the government may want to earn more money from it, but also because uh, the non air conditioned ferries are generally older and they have been they're being removed from circulation. For instance, when in the 1990s a lot of tunnel and bridge construction occurred, some of the old ferry lines were discontinued due to low usage, and with those discontinued ferry lines, a lot of the non-conditioned ferries have also been taken out. However, the advantages of the non-conditioned ferries is that they usually run for longer periods, like 24-hour periods, while the air-conditioned ferries generally only run until 9:30 and start around 6 a.m. So, the third-degree price discrimination in the Shanghai ferry market helps decrease overcrowding to maximize profits. As I've noticed in my price tab a few slides ago, it costs more depending on how big your vehicle is. Going back to that slide, as can be seen, the price increase for a bicycle is not as big as the one for cycle rickshaws. And there is also a price increase for extra luggage, indicating that if you're occupying more space, you also need to pay more. And the reason behind this is that a lot of people use the ferries on a daily basis, even though the number decreased since the 1990s when a lot of tunnel and bridge construction occurred. There are still around 250,000 citizens who used the ferry on a daily basis. So I'll be using graph examples to explain how price discrimination affects both consumers and producers. This example is from a textbook and it relates to movie theater ticket prices, but it can also be connected to the Shanghai ferry. So one could picture the student tickets as normal passenger tickets and the adult tickets as passenger tickets for people driving a moped. So in all of these examples, profit is maximized where MC equals MR, and the slopes are not the same for each different segment because the price elasticity will be different between each price segment. Of course, there are price segments because this is third degree price discrimination. So in the first graph, you can see that the price is at $7.50 and it serves 375 students, while in the second one, the price is at $10.25 and it serves 325 students. So there is clearly a change between the prices and the consumer served, and this is because of the price elasticity of demand. So how can I draw conclusions from these graphs and connect it to the Shanghai ferry? Well, I believe that in this market, the price discrimination is to benefit the producer. This is because consumers are not receiving discount fares; rather, they are only paying more according to how much space they take up in a ferry, which indicates that prices increase because the producer wants to maximize profits, and so people who take up more space would be limiting him because it would mean that less people could fit on the ferry, and so to compensate for that loss, prices are increased. The consumers, as I said, are hindered because they have to pay more than standard. While the standard fare may be considered the normal passenger fare, uh, an extra fare would be that of bicycles, mopeds, motorcycles, and extra luggage, because there are no discounts regarding of your age, social status, gender, and other factors like this. Rather, the more space you take up, the more you have to pay. Alright, this was my presentation, and thank you for watching.